G'day folks, today we're looking at another one of Matchbox's purple range. This time it's the Provost T.Mk1, kit PK30, a 1976 moulding. Now this was an interesting kit. In my early model making days throughout much of the 80s, this was an unusual type in my eyes, with no Australian service history. But it was somewhat similar to our own basic training aeroplane of the 50s and 60s, the CAC Wingill. You had to squint, but the Wingill was also a metal, radial-engined, low-wing, fixed undercarriage training aeroplane, usually painted silver, with the fin and rudder forward of the tailplanes. So the Provost stood in for the Wingill in the model department. Again, only from a distance, with a willingness to overlook the differences. Now I'll mention a linguistic point. As a kid growing up in the Aussie suburbs, I spent a lot of time inside, reading whatever aviation books and magazines I could find. Now that was all fine and good, but what the magazines and books didn't give was a practical pronunciation guide. So I was never really sure if this was a Percival Provost or a Provost or a Provost or even a Provo, a term I'd heard military police referred to as. The Royal Australian Air Force didn't fly them, although they briefly evaluated a single jet Provost. So it wasn't a name that came up in conversation with my aeroplane friends. I think that Provost is correct based on a YouTube search. Please let me know if I'm right. Percival gave the aircraft a name that wasn't automatically easy to pronounce, and they followed this up by fitting it with an Elvis Leonidas engine. Leonides. I went with Leonidas because it sounded somewhat like Euripides. Euripides trousers, Eumenides trousers. Guess what TV show I watched at the same time? Anyway, let's have a closer look. So it starts with a Roy Huxley artwork here, two aeroplanes, a bit of activity, which grabs you a bit better than just a photo or a painting of the completed model. And then, looking on the end, we have the typical end layout with a smaller representation of the box art, so you knew what you were looking at. On this side we have 4 of the other kits in the purple range. A great way to get you interested and wanting to enlarge your collection. This end we have the normal end layout, 2-colour kit. And on this one, a bit squished around this box, a bit of information about it, and also the typical Matchbox image of what it would look like if you built it, didn't paint it, put the decals on. So orangey red and white. And then this was one of the ones with the window, so you can see it's that similar orangey red colour to the Zero and white. And it gives the 2 colour schemes, one from the Central Flying School and then the other one from the Sultan of Muscat and Oman Air Force. See what we've got inside. They put these ones in the other way up so you could see them through the window. So this is what you got in the box. Starting with the instructions, it's the 3-part fold-out one that we're used to from the time. So on the front we've got the magenta colour with the picture of the aeroplane and a bit of information about the prototype in 2 languages and the specs, PK30. We start off with a bit of information about putting things together, plus indications of what the various codes mean. So it's a 9-part instruction set here. So the first one, we put the pilot into a seat and onto the floor and the rollover structure on. Step 2, we put the completed crew area into one of the fuselage sides and put the fuse together, glue it together, with a reminder to cut the slot out if you're going to use the stand. Step 3, you're putting the prop and spinner through the cowling ring through in the engine with the little backing plate on there, so the prop will spin. It tells you there to glue those bits but not the other bits. Step 4, the two cowling sides together. Step 5, the tail plane forward into the fuselage. Step 6, we put the cowling sections and the front section and the side panels there and the canopy on. Step 7, assemble the undercarriage. Step 8, put the wing sections together and glue them on. And step 9, put the other things on, so the scoop underneath, the pedo mast, a little another filter there, the undercarriage, the main undercarriage and the tail gear. And so yeah, simple aeroplane. It doesn't have an undercarriage retracted option because it doesn't have retractable undercarriage. And then on the back here we have the indications, the different paints that you use. And on the back here there's the bit of the layout of what parts are painted what colours, with information about the prototype in different languages, as well as a bit of information on how to use the stand. So that's the instructions. Looking at the decals, these are a bit toasty. I think they've been hot and cold a few times and then maybe got a bit damp at some point, but it has the two variants that you could model. And I'll have a bit of a look here, but I don't know that the tissue covering sheet or whatever it is going to come off without a fight. I don't think these decals would be much good, but they gave you two variants as well as the little signage there for the stand. Clear parts. We've got the classic M Matchbox stand here, of course, clear, not blue like the one on the Henschel 126 the other day. And of course we have the canopy, which, yeah, it's got enough framework to be able to paint it okay. Bit clunky by today's standards, but it was terrific for its time. The first sprue, we have the two fuselage sides, the prop, the spinner, the rollover frame, air scoop, the various bits and bobs that go under the wing as well as behind the cowling. We've got the undercarriage legs and the prop and the floor. And it is a, let's have a look here. Can I say? Matchbox 1976 moulding. Now, of course, the detail is fairly basic. It's got the ribs on the rudder there. Not sure that you can see that very well. And a couple of little raised panel lines there. But came up all right. The second sprue is everything else. So it's the wing upper and lowers, the tail plane, the wheels, engine, cowling, cowls, seat, etc. Got a bit of detail there on the ailerons and on the flaps and on the elevators. And yeah, so basic, but came together quite nicely. So thanks for sticking around, folks. I don't have anything to compare it to because I don't know that anyone else had put out a piston Provost at the time in 1/72nd. I believe there was a vac form kit at one point, but I'm not sure. But I do know, of course, that Matchbox put out the Strike Master. It was either the Jet Provost or the Strike Master, and I don't have one of those, so I can't compare, but there you go. So please let me know what you think. And I'm always open to suggestions for more reviews.